Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of me talking into a camera and microphone. I'm your host, Uber Mormon. Let's do this. Oops, I hit my mic there. Okay, we're talking about a book called A Confession by Leo Tolstoy today. This book was published in 1882, and Tolstoy was a very famous, prolific Russian author. For anybody doing a Russian author count on my channel, which is probably none of you, but I'll start it. This is the second Russian author that we've covered. This is the second Russian book that we've covered. The first one was Crime and Punishment. We read the murder scene in my video about Nephi killing Laban. We were trying to compare fiction to fiction, see who's better at writing fiction, Dostoevsky or Joseph Smith. And it was Dostoevsky by a lot. Okay, so today we're kind of looking at a more serious book. This is kind of like a memoir, and it is a must-read. I'll put a link in the description for for an audiobook that's available on YouTube for free of this book, and yes, you should listen to it. Now, what we're going to be reading today is essentially the entirety of the last chapter. Okay, chapter 16, we're basically reading the whole thing. I don't think that this in any way spoils the book. I think of it as, you know, when you have like a song, like a line in a song that really hits you, and sometimes you'll listen to the whole song just for that part because it just packs such a punch. But then when you try and explain it to somebody, or you say like, oh man, there's a song that I really love and the lyrics go like this, and you say it, it doesn't pack the punch, right? Because it requires kind of the entirety of it requires the whole song, right? It kind of needs a preamble so that it can hit you. It's like the beginning of the song sets the context for the power that you feel when you listen to that part. I'm probably over explaining this, but that's how I feel about this chapter. Okay, I don't feel like I'm spoiling the book. I think you'll still love the book, and I think it might make the whole book a little bit more impactful if you understand the conclusion, either while you're reading it or by the time you finish reading it. I just think that this could help. So is there anything else I want to say about this book? Essentially, I'm doing just the 16th chapter because it struck a chord with me and I thought it was beautiful. And essentially, the 16th chapter is just Tolstoy telling about a dream that he had. And it's just really pretty. So we're gonna read through that together. I'm gonna give you what I think it means, and I'm going to relate it to Mormonism in the way that I think it relates to my experiences. And yeah, that's all we're doing today. So I'm going to clap my hands. And when I clap my hands, I'm going to be kind of in a moodier setting. And we're going to read some Russian literature. All right. So let's do this. Okay. So it's time to do the reading. As an ode to Tolstoy and his Russian heritage, I thought it would be nice of me to bring along some vodka. However, I hate vodka. And so I have resorted to vodka's gay cousin, which is gin, which I do like. So with that being said, I'm going to get into the reading and I'm going to react to it. And here we go. The foregoing was written by me some 3 years ago and will be printed. Now, a few days ago, when revising it and returning to the line of thought and to the feelings I had when I was living through it all, I had a dream. This dream expressed in condensed form all that I had experienced and described, and I think, therefore, that for those who have understood me, a description of this dream will refresh and elucidate and unify what has been set forth at such length in the foregoing pages. The dream was this. I saw that I was lying on a bed. I was neither comfortable nor uncomfortable. I was lying on my back, but I began to consider how and on what I was lying, a question which had not till then occurred to me. And, observing my bed, I saw I was lying on plated string supports attached to its sides. My feet were rested on one such support, my calves on another, and my legs felt uncomfortable. I seemed to know that those supports were movable. With a movement of my foot, I pushed away the furthest of them at my feet. It seemed to me that it would be more comfortable so. But I pushed it away too far and wished to reach it again with my foot, And that movement caused the neck support under my calves to slip away also, so that my legs hung in the air. I made a movement with my whole body to adjust myself, fully convinced that I could do so at once. But the movement caused the other supports under me to slip and to become entangled. And I saw that matters were going quite wrong. The whole of my lower body had slipped and hung down, though my feet did not reach the ground. I was holding on by the upper part of my back, and not only did it become uncomfortable, but I was even frightened. And then only did I ask myself about something that had not before occurred to me. I asked myself, where am I, and what am I lying on? And I began to look around, and first of all to look down, in the direction which my body was hanging, and whither I felt I soon must fall. I looked down and did not believe my eyes. I was not only at a height comparable to the height of the highest towers or mountains, but at a height such as I could never have imagined. I could not even make out whether I saw anything there below, in that bottomless abyss over which I was hanging, and whither I was being drawn. My heart contracted, and I experienced horror. To look thither was terrible. If I looked thither, I felt I should at once slip from the last support and perish. And I did not look. But not to look was still worse, for I thought of what would happen to me directly if I fell from the last support. And I felt from fear I was losing my last supports, and that my back was slowly slipping lower and lower. Another moment and I should drop off. And then it occurred to me that this cannot be real. Is it a dream? Wake up! I try to arouse myself, but I cannot do so. What am I to do? What am I to do? I ask myself, and I look upwards. Above, there is also infinite space. I look into the immensity of sky, and I try to forget of the immensity below. And I really do forget it. The immensity below repels and frightens me. The immensity above attracts and strengthens me. I am still supported above the abyss by the last supports that have not yet slipped from under me. I know that I am hanging on, but I look upwards, and the fear passes. As happens in dreams, a voice says, "Notice this. This is it." And I look more and more into the infinite above, and I feel that I am becoming calm. I remember all that has happened, and remember how it all happened, how I moved my legs, how I hung down, how frightened I was, and how I was saved from fear by looking upwards. And I ask myself, well, and now am I not hanging just the same? And I do not so much look round as experience with my whole body the point of support on which I am held. I see that I no longer hang as if about to fall, but am firmly held. I ask myself how I am held. I feel about, look around, and see that under me, under the middle of my body, there is one support, and that when I look upwards, I lie on it in a position of securest balance, and that it alone gave me support before. Then, as happens in dreams, I imagine the mechanism by means of which I was held. A very natural, intelligible, and sure means, though to one awake that mechanism has no sense. I was even surprised in my dream that I had not understood it sooner. It appeared that at my head there was a pillar, and the security of that slender pillar was undoubted, though there was nothing to support it. From the pillar a loop hung very ingeniously and yet simply, and if one lay in the middle of one's body on that loop and looked up, there could be no question of falling. This was all clear to me, and I was glad and tranquil, and it seemed as if someone said to me, "See that you remember," and I awoke. There are a few things here that are so cool. Let's give a quick summary of this dream. So Leo is suddenly in a huge abyss, essentially, and he's lying on like a whole bunch of different ropes that are just going across his body at different segments. And as soon as he starts to think about where he's laying, what he's laying on, he starts to get really uncomfortable. And this, for me, this is comparable to growing up in a religion, starting to apply kind of scientific modern thought to that religion, and starting to feel like everything's falling apart. And so what the modern person does, and what I did is, and what Tolstoy does here, and he illustrates it perfectly, he says, this thing under my feet, I don't think I need it. I'm going to kick it away. And as soon as he kicks it away, he kind of loses the thing that was under his calves as well, which he wasn't trying to lose. And so for me, this illustrates perfectly something that happens as we start to leave the church, which is we get rid of some shit. And then right as we get rid of it, we immediately realize that we got rid of too much. At least this is true for me. Again, I'm speaking from my experience here. So we start to realize that we got rid of too much, and now he's like slumped, right? Like I imagine that he has something under the middle of his back, maybe something like right under his butt, and then nothing. And so his legs are just flat. And what then happens is he starts to think more broadly, and he says, what's under me in the first place? Like, what's even holding me up? What's above me? And as he looks around, he realizes like there is nothing. There's comfort for him in the fact that there's an immensity of space above him. And so he tries to kind of focus on that and just like be content with that. There's a sense of security and safety in just kind of faith and trust. I think that's what he's saying there. Although feel free to disagree and put what you think is going on in the comments. But then what starts to happen is as he's focusing on the space above him, he hears a voice that says, notice this. You derive your comfort from this, from looking up. And maybe this is, I mean, of course the whole thing is a metaphor, but maybe what he's pointing to here is that, you know, a lot of people are very staunch kind of scientific atheistic thinkers until they actually have to confront the abyss, right? Until they actually have to like sit there in the nihilistic emptiness. And then, I mean, who doesn't want God more than somebody like that? And I feel that way myself because while I see no rational reason for there to be something like an afterlife, I still want there to be one. Because that's comforting to me. And it sounds better than just my life ends and it's back to how it was before I was born, right? Nothing. And so I think that's what he's saying here. Although, again, I could be wrong. So this is where the story starts to get really interesting. He starts to realize as he's lying there looking up that his posture when lying back, he never actually was using the things that he kicked away before. Because he really only needs the one support that goes down the middle of his back that is the one that's still holding him. So at this point in the dream, he starts retracing his steps. He's thinking about how he kicked the rope away, how kicking that rope away removed the second rope that he didn't want to get rid of. And he's now just thinking about, okay, well, where am I now? I have 2 less supports. I'm looking up. It's helping. Suddenly a thought occurs to him that this whole mechanism, whatever it is that's holding him, is built so that he can lie back looking up. And if he lies back looking up, there's one support that matters, and that one hasn't gone anywhere. So he's exactly as safe as he was before, which could be, I mean, so this could be like a redemption or like a forgiveness motif, right? So you kick something away. This could be like a prodigal son thing, right? So you kick something away and you feel lost or you feel like you've made some grave error, and then you realize that's not even actually important anyways. And the core of it is still right here, and it's under me and it's protecting me. And he says something so beautiful here, and this all made sense to me in a way that dreams make sense to people who are sleeping. This isn't the hardcore left brain, like analytical thing that's telling me all of this. This is like some form of intuition. This is a voice inside of me that already knows this, and I have to remember this instead of learn this for the first time. As he realizes that he is as safe as he was the whole time, it ends. It says, "This was clear to me, and I was glad and tranquil. And it seemed as if someone said to me, 'See that you remember.' And I awoke." So that's, I mean, I think it's such a pretty story. And so if you're an ex-Mormon and you're watching this and you're thinking, no, I don't want to go back to that, right? I don't think that's what this is saying. And it can mean that if you want it to mean that, but I don't think that it's saying that. I think what it's saying is, and I'm about to say some stuff about Mormons. It doesn't bother me. I say this all the time. I don't think Joseph Smith was a prophet, and I'm betting my life on it. But it doesn't bother me if somebody wants to make another bet. It doesn't. The thing that bothers me is when it seems like somebody is making the same bet because they think that they're supposed to, and they haven't really like really applied skepticism and thought to it. And yet they're just kind of operating unconsciously. Now, I shouldn't judge this, and I shouldn't be upset about this because technically I don't even know if they have, right? I don't know what struggle they've been through. I don't know if they've questioned their faith. I don't know any of that. But when it seems to me like people are operating on unconscious biases of any kind, that's what really gets to me. And I think that that's what Tolstoy does in the beginning of this dream. He says, "What is this down by my feet? I need to question this." And so he pushes it away. And it's only upon pushing some things away that we know that we need them back. And it's only upon pushing some things away that we realize that we never needed them and that we were never using them. And both of those things happen here. And so I think that wrapping this all up and turning this into like an ex-Mormon, whatever, wrap it up with a bow thing, I don't know, gift wrap it in ex-Mormon wrapping paper, which is garments. You need to question your assumptions, and you need to question your own biases. And it's only after doing that that you feel tranquil and safe, in my opinion. So that has been my summary of Leo Tolstoy's dream at the end of A Confession. I hope that you liked it. And now we're jumping back to daytime Uber Studios so that regular Uber Mormon can sign you out, because I'm like the gin drinking nighttime candlelit Russian Uber Mormon. Bye, everyone. Welcome back, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed my theatrical, we won't call it that, but it was pretty theatrical. There were candles. I had liquor. It was a whole thing. I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that it resonated with you. I've never said this on my channel before, but if you like this, then you should like it. And if you have a comment to make, you should make the comment. And if you just want to be really annoying in the comments, then think of others before you do that, because it's really annoying. Like, it may be a circular argument that I'm about to make, but and this is just for me, right? I'm not trying to be controversial here. But when people are annoying, I find that to be annoying. That's just me, it's just me. But anyway, I hope that you liked this video. I hope that it made you think. And I really hope that you go, why am I holding a pen? I really hope that you go and listen to A Confession by Leo Tolstoy on YouTube. It's free. It takes 2 hours. It's a great book. Do 15 minutes a day and knock it out. But I do think that it is a book that resonates with the ex-Mormon life experience. And it is crazy to me, for a book that was written in the 1880s, it is crazy to me how many plot points I had in common with Leo throughout this whole thing. It was really, really crazy, and it made me feel like maybe across time human beings aren't as different as we think that we are. So that's my analysis of Tolstoy's dream at the end of A Confession. I hope you liked it. Take care of yourself. Goodbye, everybody.